The city of Cape Coral, Florida has the largest population of burrowing owls in the world. These little birds, about the size of a soda can, may symbolize the ability of man to respectfully coexist with wildlife. These adorable owls easily adapt to new surroundings and like to live close to people. Find out how the people of Cape Coral are learning to share their space with a growing population of burrowing owls on this edition of Unspoiled Planet. The Florida burrowing owl gets its name from its choice of living accommodations, the burrow. Generally, burrowing owls can be found in short grass prairies in the western region of the United States and from Canada into South America. However, the Florida burrowing owls are a subspecies with unique and fascinating characteristics. For example, unlike their western counterparts, the Florida species does not migrate. While most owls are nocturnal, the burrowing owl is diurnal, meaning it hunts during the day for foods such as moles, mice, and insects. In Florida, the owls actually dig their own holes in the ground to live. In other regions, the birds nest in burrows abandoned by other animals such as squirrels and prairie dogs. Sometimes these owls form small colonies of burrows about 30 yards apart and only require about 1 acre of living space. They are quite comfortable sharing their turf with humans. Because the owls easily adapt to developed areas, burrows are found close to roadways, near busy commercial areas, and often in residential neighborhoods. The burrowing owl's appetite for insects like cockroaches provides an important service to their human neighbors. A comparative study showed that burrowing owls in Cape Coral preferred areas of moderate development. Apparently, these areas provide enough space for the owls to burrow and find food. Additionally, it seems that the birds want to be close, but not too close to people, because humans attract the insects they need for food. This has prompted some environmentalists to consider purchasing small tracts of land within these neighborhoods to be sure the owls always have a home. At one time, the birds could be found in many regions of Florida, but as the number of people increased, the owl population decreased, and the owls relocated to new areas. As a result, the state has listed the owl as a species of special concern, which means that the population has reached a threshold point requiring thoughtful decisions to secure the bird's future. The burrowing owl is just one of 36 birds listed as threatened in the state of Florida. The state is concerned that much of its local wildlife is dwindling. Florida is widely known as home to a large number of alligators. However, alligators are listed as a species of special concern, threatened by their similar appearance to the endangered crocodiles. Hunting is a big threat to the gators, but cannibalism and fights are also major causes of death. The state has also listed the Florida black bear as a threatened species. The bears require large home ranges. As development in Florida increases, bears are simply running out of room. Of course, development is not the only cause of habitat loss. Each year, wildfires destroy thousands of acres in Florida. Logging operations temporarily reduce habitat areas, but are often replanted. Other land conversions, such as surface mining and farming, also reduce land that black bears might use. An additional problem to maintaining habitat areas is the high cost of land in Florida. Some conservation groups seeking to purchase land for wildlife use are finding it increasingly expensive. As undeveloped forest areas that provide bears and other animals with food and shelter disappear, the ability of the Florida black bear to survive is diminished. The laws and regulations that protect black bears, alligators, bald eagles, and other species have been instrumental in securing the future for the burrowing owl and many other animals in Florida. Florida burrowing owls are one of the smallest members of the owl family. With a wingspan of about 56 centimeters, they only weigh about 5 ounces and are about 25 centimeters tall, about the size of a soda can. These birds also have the most amazing bright yellow eyes you have ever seen. Yellow eyes are predominant, but some owls have chocolate, olive, and straw-colored eyes. The male can dig a burrow in 2 days with his feet. When finished, the burrow is typically 1 meter deep and 2.5 to 3.5 meters long. Quite an engineering feat. The design provides protection from predators such as hawks by incorporating a series of twists and turns that are impossible for a larger creature to pass through. Since the Florida burrowing owl doesn't migrate, they use the same burrow year after year. The burrow includes a nesting chamber located from 15 centimeters to 1 meter below the ground and about 30 to 45 centimeters in diameter. The owl also digs lower chambers to collect rain and water runoff to prevent flooding in the living quarters. It is common for the male to dig a second burrow, a satellite burrow, where they can escape predators. Researchers have also observed that the adult owls will use the second burrow as a respite from their persistent young chicks, who are constantly demanding their attention. When Unspoiled Planet continues, meet a pair of owls that became a tourist attraction when they burrowed next to a popular restaurant. One pair of burrowing owls made their home at a Cape Coral, Florida restaurant, burrowing nearby, perching in the parking lot, and even in the rafters of the building. They soon became a popular sight for customers and were even considered pets by the restaurant's owners.
About a year ago, we had a guest here, and as one of the burrowing owls decided to start hanging out in front of the restaurant in the rafters. And he was here for a couple weeks, and everybody was amazed that he was here, and then he never left. It got to the point where the customers started looking for him, and he just really became part of the place. My oldest daughter, named him Kooky, and I guess she named him that because the burrowing owl is not supposed to be up in the rafters; they're supposed to be down under. And then about 6 months later, he got a girlfriend over here, and she lived here for about 4 months, and she's been gone now for a couple months, and I'm assuming she's underneath in her burrow across the street where Kookie's guarding her right now.
The owl's nesting season begins in February and lasts through August every year. When nesting, the owls decorate the entrance to the burrow with all sorts of debris such as cigarette butts, shiny objects, and even feces. Cindy Bear is a volunteer with the Audubon Society. While conducting a 5-year study of the burrowing owls in Cape Coral, she discovered more than 250 burrows.
The decoration around a burrow has this pattern too. When the birds are first nesting, it'll be very lightly decorated, and then it progresses as nesting occurs. What we realized later too was that once the eggs hatch, the decoration gets pushed back away from the opening of the burrow out to the edges of the burrow, so that I would go and monitor a nest, and when I would first see that decoration pushed away, it was a clue to me that there were young in the burrow, even though I might not see them, because we don't see the birds, the young birds, until they're 10 days old to 2 weeks old. They're simply too small in that time period to come out of the burrow. So it was an interesting clue for us to learn about the birds and to know when they were nesting and perhaps when the young had hatched.
The owls live for an average of 7 to 8 years and tend to mate for life, forming monogamous relationships. The female produces a clutch of 4 to 6 eggs and incubates them for about 28 days. 10 days later, the chicks usually emerge from the burrow. Typically, only 2 or 3 of them will survive to the 6-week point when they fledge, meaning they are able to fly and gather food. The adult pair works as a team to feed their young. The male is the hunter and gatherer, roaming the nearby area for beetles, grasshoppers, crickets, and other possibilities. He returns to the burrow, or in this case, just outside the burrow, where he passes the food to the female. She then delivers the food to the chicks. While observing the owls to collect data on nesting, reproduction, and family size, Cindy Bear discovered that baby owls often roam from burrow to burrow, and the adults seem to take them in as their own. The burrowing owls will nest in loose colonies where the territory is available, so there may be a couple of pairs nesting in very close proximity to each other with their own broods of young. However, as the young grow and become active and run around in the lots and fields, what we observed were the young mixing and getting together and running to the nearest burrow where there was an adult who had food, and in fact, sometimes continuing to stay at that burrow. It was quite interesting that the adults didn't run off the young that were not their own, but would often go ahead and feed them. And then we'd see this whole group of young come out, get excited, and all run over to the other burrow where an adult was coming in with food. It was quite an unusual behavior that you don't often see in any other bird species. Another interesting behavior of the owls is displayed when they lose a mate. If widowed, the male will remain in his territory and attract a new unattached female. However, a widowed female will leave that territory to pair up with another male up to a mile away. When Unspoiled Planet continues, we'll learn more about Cape Coral, Florida, the burrowing owl, and the laws designed to help them coexist with people. In an effort to properly balance the needs of people and the environment, Cape Coral has developed policies to protect its wildlife while also satisfying the needs of homeowners, business owners, and developers. Similar efforts in other regions to protect the environment raise questions such as, what is more important, the needs of wildlife or the needs of people? It's a question many public officials are struggling with. Some argue that exploding human population and the growth of urban and suburban areas poses grave danger to animals. Another viewpoint asserts that the needs of men, women, and children supersede wildlife and environmental concerns. Is there a balanced middle ground? The people and the burrowing owls of Cape Coral, Florida may have some answers for other cities and towns facing similar questions. Located on the southern Gulf Coast of Florida, Cape Coral has a population of more than 100,000 people. It is Florida's 12th most populated city and ranks as one of the fastest growing cities for its size, growing at about 5% each year. One population expert anticipates the city's population will exceed 200,000 by the year 2015. Geographically, Cape Coral is the state's second largest city, covering 114 square miles. It is also home to the largest population of burrowing owls of any place in the United States.
Yeah, one thing that's intriguing about Cape Coral as you look around is that this is all created by people. Certainly people create a lot of areas where they live, but this was an extreme situation. Cape Coral is over 100 square miles, and natively it was pine flatwoods, cypress swamps, oak hammocks, freshwater streams. What people did was come in and take that entire 100 square miles, literally cut down everything that was native, dug miles and miles, hundreds and hundreds of miles of canals, and used that dirt to create a little higher elevation. And the big selling point here was to be all that great waterfront property. So literally everything that you see when you scan around here was artificially created. All the trees are new and were planted, the grass has come back, the soil is totally altered. And what's intriguing is that the Florida burrowing owl had existed in this area for a long period of time, but their stronghold in Florida had been up in the native shortgrass prairies of our state. Those areas were altered due to agriculture, and as those areas were altered, these areas along the coast, like Cape Coral, were being altered and turned into a modified human-created shortgrass prairie. So the birds moved, their distributions changed, and now this has become their stronghold.
Like most municipalities, Cape Coral has the typical prohibitions against animal cruelty as well as special regulations to protect certain wildlife, like the bald eagle. Bald eagles often migrate to Cape Coral. They are listed as a threatened species by the federal and state governments. In Cape Coral, the city code includes an entire chapter devoted to protecting the eagles. Once near extinction, the number of bald eagles in the United States was down to 500 breeding pairs in 1963. Today, there are more than 6,700 breeding pairs. In fact, the recovery of the eagles has been such a success, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service believes they no longer require protection under the Endangered Species Act. Today, the biggest threats to the eagles are loss of habitat and contaminants. Although it is generally thought that bald eagles tend to avoid close contact with people, some eagles make their nests close to houses and other development. To avoid disrupting this American icon of freedom during the nesting season, the city established an eagle management zone, an 1,100-foot buffer around a nest. Activities prohibited in or near a zone include lawn mowing, tree trimming, land clearing, and all construction activities. During the nesting season, people are not allowed within 150 feet of a tree occupied by an eagle or a nest. While protecting the survival of the bald eagle, the city has also taken great care to accommodate the needs of its citizens too. In fact, in cases where these regulations deprive a landowner or developer from the practical use of the land, the city will purchase the land in order to protect the bird. And there are regulations specifically designed to protect the burrowing owl. For example, the city requires building permit applicants to conduct a survey of the property to determine if owl burrows are present. In the event there is a burrow on the property, a separate state and federal permit is required to destroy it. However, during the nesting season from February to July, no burrows may be destroyed. This policy provides birds and builders the opportunity to go about their business without severely hampering each other's livelihood. Some builders have demonstrated their willingness to avoid disturbing burrows by altering their plans to build around the animals when possible. If a burrow can be saved while construction is ongoing, the city requires builders to rope off a 10-foot radius protection zone around the burrow. City planners work to integrate the owls into the neighborhoods and help the builders comply with the codes protecting the birds. To assist with the permit process and keep track of the location of owl burrows, the city has implemented a computer database. Building permit requests are checked against this database to determine if additional action is required. When a violation does occur, the city police are often asked to intervene. Arnold Gibbs is the chief of police for Cape Coral.
I don't advance the cause of animals to the point that I say that humans ought to forsake the necessities of life or that kind of thing. But I do believe that there needs to be every attempt made to coexist with animals without causing them harm. They're living things and they have a right to live, and they were here first. So we pretty much have to build around them, and we have codes here that protect them in the city of Cape Coral, which is good. Many of our citizens, our residents, will watch to see if anybody does anything contrary to the law requires them to do with regard to these animals and birds. And they report them. And when they do, the city of Cape Coral takes action. So we don't take it lightly here.
The city takes steps to inform and educate citizens about the owls and the benefits they provide to the people, as well as inform the community of active burrows that need protection. The effect of these efforts can be seen in the statistics. Before Cape Coral enacted laws to protect the owls, the leading cause of death was associated with development. Today, the greatest threat to the owls is automobile-related accidents. Cape Coral is evidence that a balanced development plan allowing people and wildlife to coexist can make a difference. The burrowing owls seem to enjoy Cape Coral as much as the people enjoy them. It's a win-win situation on this Unspoiled Planet.